Hello everyone, welcome, my name is Phoenix and this is the Consumer's Guide to Video Games. Dusk, 2018, David Szymanski. Dusk is a first-person shooter game. Taking control of an unnamed person, said person wakes up on a farm in the middle of nowhere. However, this farm is being run by a violent cult. With no other options, we, as this nameless prisoner, must fight our way through this cult and escape before the worst happens to us. This is the game that put David Szymanski on the map as a developer, and for very good reason. This was an entertaining little boomer shooter. At first glance, one might confuse what Szymanski is doing here for mere laziness and lack of ideas. I wouldn't blame you for thinking that. Like, it's a boomer shooter. Kill enemies, find keys, rinse and repeat. Like, it's Doom, it's Quake, you played this before. On some level, even I was thinking, been there, done that while I was burning through this game. The structure and transitions between levels is literally just Doom. But when you really get into the nitty-gritty here, what I think becomes apparent is that Szymanski didn't make Dusk out of laziness. Szymanski made Dusk out of a deep, undying love for this era of shooters. Outside of, Doom and Quake and the other obvious ones, the level design can introduce interesting mechanics as well as evoke other lesser-known games that casual audiences may not know. There's a level where you're rotating the map and you have to fall certain ways to move forward. It's quite disorienting, but in a good way. The beginning of the last stage, you get a sword, and you're introduced to some minimal stealth mechanics before you're hacking up cultists. That's straight up an ode to, Hexen. The second to last level, with gigantic waves of enemies, was practically a Serious Sam level. Even when you're playing those Doom and Quake meat and potatoes boomer shooter levels, you're invested because that formula is admittedly fun. Even if the boomer shooter gameplay isn't quite enamoring you as much as you would like, maybe a heaping helping of the atmosphere and style David Szymanski is known for will help you. Dusk has that janky 90s era graphics quality done in a purposeful manner. That low polygon count combined with the grimy, dark and dirty environments adds a level of horror and unease to the proceedings. This is especially so as many of these levels are dark, sometimes just pitch black. Further, the environments can get trippy and surreal. Worlds made of blood and meat, black voids, interesting uses of minimal color. It can be a visual feast. The enemies that are permeating these areas are also interesting. Szymanski certainly has a type when it comes to setting and enemies, as we are getting, hillbillies with chainsaws, witches, satanic goats, and so on. Then in the second part, we are introduced, much like in Half-Life, to the military, the most notable of whom are the dudes in gray hazmat suits shooting bombs at you. The bosses range from demonic corpses, a guy with what looks like a shark's head and an arm cannon, and finally, a giant eldritch monster, because Szymanski clearly likes those. But what aids in creating that signature atmosphere is the music and audio. Working with Andrew Hulshult, the music of Dusk is emblematic of this man's style. It is a mixture of industrial noise and crushing heavy metal riffs. Unless it is approaching or you are in direct combat, the score sticks to the former. The before-mentioned uneasy atmosphere is created in part by the hums of demonic noise and clattering of metal as you explore the levels of the game. But when you enter the massive combat sections, we are then treated to Hulshult's heavy metal riffs blasting as you shoot your way through these enemies. Now, are these riffs good? Yeah, they're fine. Some head boppers here and there. But I think Hulshult is more adept at creating a complete atmosphere more so than isolated, punishing riffs. If I wanted crushing riffs, I'd play Doom Eternal. But that's just me. The writing is, of course, not a big focal point since this is a boomer shooter, but what I will commend Szymanski for is managing to let his voice shine through despite the minimal story. Evil cult doing evil cult things isn't interesting on its face, but Szymanski both injects humor into the proceedings and presents a decent build-up to a mildly fascinating twist. As you go through the levels, messages will pop up on the screen, some of which are cute and got a giggle out of me, but most build up the intrigue of what is this cult doing. At the end, the cult appeared to be worshipping an eldritch beast, as cults do, but after defeating the eldritch beast, you don't destroy it. Instead, you end up becoming its vessel. You become a demonic doomslayer, the power of a god in your hands, ready to do its bidding. Simple premise in general, but when Szymanski adds tiny little wrinkles like that into it, it becomes pretty interesting. In conclusion, while Dusk isn't reinventing the wheel in big ways when it comes to the FPS genre, the game did start a big throwback movement, and it was Szymanski's big break. The former being typified by the games that came after Dusk, like Warhammer 40k Boltgun, Cultic, the Citadel, and so on, all a result of Dusk and a couple other titles bringing this style back. The latter, of course, is shown by it helping Szymanski to get games like Iron Lung and Butcher's Crate traction amongst the gaming community, and ultimately resulting in one of Szymanski's games, Iron Lung, there's a full review of that on the channel, getting turned into a movie. Dusk may not be the best thing Szymanski has done, nor am I particularly enamored with it as an FPS, but Dusk is a fun ode to a bygone era of gaming, and the passion and love for this era shines throughout the game. If you like your boomer shooters, give this game a go if you want to kill time, especially during the spoopy season. Yeah. Fucking hell. And I'm feeling a 7 to a 7.5 out of 10 on this one. Maybe it's a little closer to a 7.5 than it is a 7. Yeah, it's a fun little game. Catch you later, guys.